and we're good.
Good evening, race fans. It is time to cap off one wild and competitive season here in the Virtual Racing Association. Here, my name is William Tiller. I am joined by my co-host of the evening, Kynan Jones, and tonight we will crown a champion. I think we already know who the champion is here in this league, but there's one more race here in this series, Kynan, and tonight we take on Five Flags Speedway. What do you think about the action here tonight, and how excited are you to cap off another successful season here in the Virtual Racing Association?
Well, with it being Five Flags, it's a track that has already been crowned the champion, but it's meant that he's now able to come into tonight, but with it being a lot more relaxing and just needs to top off the end of the season with a potential win, but besides that, he has nothing to worry about. So the race is really going to be on for the end of the for runners up position, and luckily, I don't need to worry about finishing runners up this season.
No, and as this qualifying session has wrapped up now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to run 115 laps here tonight from Five Flag Speedway. And Kynan, you took a few practice laps before this broadcast began. What can you tell the folks at home about this racetrack we're about to take on here tonight?
Well, with it being Five Flags, it doesn't really matter what car you drive it in, it's very loose, especially coming out of Turn 4 and Turn 2. Turn 2, there's a nice little bump in the middle of the track where if you get over it wrong, you try to put a bit of counter steer in and suddenly you're up into the outside wall, so that's something to watch out for. And coming out of Turn 4, it's very loose. It doesn't really matter where you run on the racetrack, it's going to get sideways, and you get up into that outside wall, you're going to start wall riding, and that's going to cause a lot more damage than you really want to be doing.
Yeah, you don't really want to suffer too much damage here in this race. You want to try to keep pace with that 00 here in the Adminboxx 115. Again, this is the regular season finale here, the Virtual Racing Association. This will cap off, this will be the end to another great successful season here. A season kind of that's had a mixed bag. Of course, Caden has about 6 wins on the season with a win here tonight, or 5 wins. You can't match what he had last season with the 7 wins, where he really dominated all season long until you chased his tail there at the end, coming up 1 point short of that championship. But here this season, we've had a lot of other competitors really stick their nose out, if you will. We had Johnny Eckerd win last week. Seth Ross is really good at a Shift Esports. We got Dallas Myhan. We got Ed Marshall in the mix as well. We have a lot of other different drivers this year that have really made themselves known.
Yeah, with it being a lot more newer drivers, didn't really know if maybe Caden would be able to take home the crown or the championship trophy at the end. But it is a good sign for the future of VRA to bring in new blood and bring in a new form of competition. It mixes things up and makes it good for us here in the broadcast booth. We don't know who's going to come in and who's going to be the one to watch, but one driver that you may want to be watching to maybe take it to Caden tonight is going to be Seth Rolls, starting in the 2nd position.
Yeah, Seth Ross there right out of Shift Esports. We spoke to him last week, came very, very close from getting that first win on the season for that team. But here tonight, as you mentioned, Kynan's going to start to the outside of Caden Tufts. Right now, the starting grid for the Adminboxx 115, we have Caden Tufts starting it off on the pole position, Seth Ross in 2nd, Johnny Eckerd in 3rd, Edward Marshall in 4th, Dallas Myhan in 5th, Gutierrez in 6th, Jordan Tarble in 7th, Adam Peeler in 8th, and McLean in 9th. We also see Nathaniel Cherry there at the tail end of the pack in 10th. That's our 10 cars that will race here in the season finale for the Virtual Racing Association Season 2. So we're going to watch this pace car take us around just one more time here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get one more green flag start here of this race, our last race of the season. It's been a very, very great season. Cannot wait for Season 3 Kynan here as we're about to kick off the Adminboxx 115.
Going to be a long way coming around turn 3 and 4 for the final initial restart we're going to get. It's a long way till we wait till the green flag comes out, but green flag is out. Seth Rolls gets off to a good start. Caden Tufts on the inside going to try fight it. Johnny Eckerd up on the outside in the 2nd row, not being able to capitalize at all, but Caden Tufts is going to be able to move his way up into the 1st position and will lead lap number 1.
Yeah, Caden Tuff's going to take this first lap underneath his belt. Looks like we're having some trouble there on the racetrack. That looks like Gutierrez there in that 99 machine's getting a little sideways already. We saw that in those practice laps there, kind of that you ran. There's a few bumps on this track. You got to take this track just right. It's a very technical track. You start to get on the accelerator just too much. You get a little sideways, get a little loose there. You want to make sure you hit the brakes, tap the brakes just a little bit to get that car straight. Now Caden Tuff's in that double zeros, checking out like he always does there at the top of the grid. But it looks like Edward Marshall there in that Ford machine's now got his sights set on that lead position as we're 4 laps in already here at Five Flags.
Speaking of number 4, the driver currently running in the 4th position, losing 2 positions on where they started. Seth Rolls hasn't been the start that he's probably wanted, but Johnny Eckert will be able to move up into the 3rd position after fighting with Seth for a couple of laps, but Seth is going to go back to looking to the inside of Johnny, but not quite close enough to think about putting it up the inside, but he has to be careful whilst running down near the apron.
Yeah, oh, as Johnny Eckert gets a little sideways there, coming out the corner, as this is the battle we watched last week there, kind of between Seth Rollins and Johnny Eckert. As I spoke about, Seth was really trying to get to Johnny, trying to get that win underneath his belt. Johnny Eckert, though, really worked for that victory, a well-deserved victory last week. Shout out to him. Caden Tuffs had an off moment, his first non-top 5, his first non-podium of the entire season came last week, but here tonight he is picking up where he left off. He's very comfortable up there in that open air, but this is similar to what we saw last week, though, until Caden started to run into a bit of trouble. Could you think, though, at the top of the grid, when you're running these clean air laps all by yourself, you get a little complacent there, you start not to worry about things as much as you should, and that's where trouble can start to creep up on you.
With it being a long race and a longer race of the season, 115 laps, you being up in the lead right now is always going to fill you with confidence, but you don't want to let that confidence get the better of you. You want to just be not watching the mirror too much and just worry about what's going on ahead. You can't really control what happens behind, but if you make a mistake and then start falling back, then that's on you. So you just need to limit your mistakes, but when you're running up front as much as Caden does, you tend to have the experience and know how to keep your mind distracted, for say, just to not have yourself slip into a mindset where you start making these little mistakes. But Caden currently running up near the front at the front, pulls out to a second lead on Edward Marshall. Johnny Eckert looks to have finally been able to shake Seth Roll slightly, but Seth trying to keep Johnny honest.
Yeah, as we're 12 laps into the season finale race here in the Adminboxx 115. Still, Caden Tuffs is leading the way. We're riding on board there with Dallas Myhan. Now, Dallas has 2 wins on the season. A multi-time winner here in these modifieds. Cannot wait to see if Shift Esports comes back for Season 3. I'm excited to see if they do, because if they do, they will really put a lot of pressure on Caden Tuffs and the rest of the field here. This is a fantastic league here, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't figured out what the Virtual Racing Association is and what they stand for, we invite you to go check them out on Facebook. They have a Twitter page as well, or Discord. Go ahead and sign up for Season 3. As me and Kynan mentioned to start off this broadcast here, Caden Tuffs dominated last year. That's evident. He won 7 races. He won the majority of the races of the year. This year, though, we have multiple multi-race winners here. With Dallas Myhan, we have, Johnny Eckert picked up a win as well. Of course, Caden Tuffs is going to be the champion this year. We spoke about that. But the way this league's starting to build, getting a little bit more competitive, a little bit more racy, if you will. I cannot wait to see what Season 3 has in store. If we get some more drivers into the mix here, this is going to be quite the league here for Season 3.
Yeah, it's going to definitely build momentum for the league owners of VRA. Seeing how much more of a success this season was compared to the first, it's always going to fill you with confidence, but you've always got to think, okay, how can we continue to expand? And looking at who they're starting to pick up, I'd say VRA has a very positive future ahead of it.
Indeed, as now we're watching Caden Tuffs still at the top of the grid here on lap 20. We're 20 laps into the Five Flags Adminboxx 115 here, the season finale of the Virtual Racing Association. As we're still watching that 26 car of Dallas Myhan running in the 5th position. Now, Kynan, I think I might ask you this every broadcast, or my co-host every broadcast. Of course, we see Caden Tuffs at the top of the grid. right now has a pretty substantial lead there at the top. What do you do as a driver here, 21 laps in? Are you still worried about hitting your lines? Or are you trying to find more speed on the racetrack?
Well, you're always trying to find some form of speed and just keep running consistency. If you can just save your tires here and there, just even though it may shave off a tenth here and there every couple laps, if you can just save that and then gain that back in the longer run when it comes to tire saving, then you want to be there towards the end. It doesn't matter if he builds even a 2 lap advantage. If he throws it in the wall and has to sit in the pits for half an hour, that then negates all advantage that he gains. So just keeping your car in one piece is the first part to being able to finish well. If you can just survive first to finish, or to finish first you must finish, as many drivers have said, and it reigns true, especially in these more sensitive cars like these modifieds.
Yeah, as we're still smooth sailing under green here, no caution flags to speak of. Barney the flag man's not getting his work in here tonight. As we're 25 laps in, we're going to take our first break of the evening. We'll be right back with more live action here on 10-4 Broadcasting from Five Flag Speedway.
Be sure to check out Tim Mayo Conrad and the Weekend Woodsman crew on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button to get notifications when a new video drops, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Enjoy the race.
And we're back here live from Five Flag Speedway. No change at the top of the grid right now. Still Caden Tufts leading the way there in that 0-0. We have Edward Marshall in second, Johnny Eckert in third, Seth Ross in fourth, and Dallas Myhan completes the top five right now. As it looks like we have a battle for the third position brewing right now, kind of between Seth Ross and Johnny Eckert. Look at Johnny Eckert's going to try to the outside right here.
From my experience in tests earlier, the outside is not where you want to be. The inside is always going to be the preferred lane for attacking, but if you can just hold enough momentum on the high line and take it down the straightaways, you're going to be able to keep putting up a fight. But Johnny Eckert going for the switchback and makes contact with Seth Rolls, and Johnny's going to spin into the inside wall, Seth into the outside wall.
Yes, we have our first caution of the night right now. Johnny Eckert and Seth Ross, 1-2 last week, are now entangled with each other. They are inseparable, these two, right now here at Five Flags, as we just saw a wreck between those two guys. It's all right, though. We'll see them back on the track here in just a little while. Knowing the skill of these two drivers, they won't let that affect them. Maybe they'll get a little steamy there as we're going to watch this 10-4 broadcasting replay here to see what happened. And kind of, as a driver, do you get frustrated by this, or you just take it on the chin and keep rocking and rolling?
Well, in the moment, Johnny would have been feeling a little bit heated in the car, fighting hard. Your heart rate's going to be elevated. You can see him trying to run on the outside right now. Seth is able to clear him, so Johnny then dives it back to the inside, trying to then get the preferred attacking lane to then try regain the position. You can see him entering at a shallower angle, which then over those bumps, it just starts taking the front wheels and just limiting the front grip that you have, and he just drifts up ever so slightly. And small bit of contact, but unfortunately, Seth's going to get the worst of the contact. But in the moment, it's very easy to get heated up, but it's a long race. There's still plenty of time to recover. You just need to find a bit of cool air, and then you should be able to gain your way back up for the field if you got the pace like these two have.
Yeah, as we're already starting to see a few cars head down pit road right now. It looks like our window kind of on the racetrack, maybe around that 35-40 lap range if you had to guess, or do you think these drivers can push it just a little bit further?
I'd say these drivers will easily have enough fuel. Some drivers have came down to get tires, so maybe Caden in the lead decided not to, but I'll just quickly also just go check actually. So if just okay, Caden did make a pit stop.
Yeah, it looks like most of the leaders headed down pit road right there. So around 35 laps. So if you think about the math there, kind of next time we might see these drivers down pit road is around lap 70, if it stays green to lap 70 there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you right now as Caden Tuff's still our race leader, but you look at who's behind him now, one of those Shift Esports rivals. And in Dallas Myhan, a multi-time winner here in the Virtual Racing Association this season, wants to end this season on a good note for Shift Esports. They've had an incredible season for a new team in the mix here. They got about 3 or 4 drivers every week in this series, and they race tomorrow. They race on Thursdays as well. They are a very active and very competitive stable there out of Shift Esports. And you see the skill week in and week out of a lot of these drivers, whether it's here in these modifieds, whether it's in Oscar on Wednesday nights or Thursday night series there as well. We see them in the Dynasty Stock Car Racing League on Wednesday nights. So kind of these drivers here at Shift Esports, they put in the time, they put in the practice, and it really shows week in and week out.
Yeah, Shift picks up a lot of very good drivers, but there's not a lot you can really do when you're starting on the outside, and Dallas is going to be easily eaten up and will fall into the third position. He's going to try hold on the outside. Chris Gutierrez trying on the inside to make a move past, but not quite close enough. He's going to have to fall in behind Dallas, who moves into the third position behind his Shift Esports teammate of Nathaniel Cherry, who's going to be very hungry for a win this season.
Yeah, Nathaniel Cherry has had a great season as well here in these modifieds. This is season 2 of the Virtual Racing Association. This is the season finale of season 2. Season 3 news, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to go on Facebook or Twitter or Discord to go ahead and like, share, and follow everything out of the Virtual Racing Association. Any news for season 3, we will post on 10 for broadcast and social media pages as well. So we invite you to do the same. But right now, it looks like Dallas Myhan's trying to get his position back from Nathaniel Cherry there in that 33. Here, 48 laps in. He's just trying to find that opportunity. And kind of, I spoke to you here when we started this race about how to tackle this race. How do you pass at this racetrack?
Passing is not exactly the easiest on these short tracks to begin with, but when the car is moving around as much as it is, that's really going to be your best bet to capitalize. When the car in front is maybe getting a little bit too sideways and costing themselves speed, we can see Nathaniel Cherry very nearly get into the wall, and it's just costing momentum, and you can see Dallas trying to find a way by, but if you can just put yourself towards the middle of the lower end of the corner, just means Dallas gets on the apron and he is going to get sideways, but you can see with Dallas getting sideways, it's allowed Chris to be able to go up the inside, but there's going to be a caution.
In a huge pile up right there. I was just about to mention Chris Gutierrez there in that 99 has done a great job recovering from that early incident he had to start off the race, was climbing back up through the grid right there. But we saw Dallas get sideways there, and just one domino falls and they all fall in that instance, kind of.
Yeah, when there's a check up in front, some drivers are going to try capitalize on it. You can see Dallas just trying to run a little bit higher, and it just gets into the wall. He starts losing that momentum 3 wide at the time down the front straight. There's then a little bit of contact, which then sends Chris down ever so slightly, and Adam Peeler not wanting to lift, trying to gain any form of position to maybe get into the podium. Unfortunately, just all coming together, and then we unfortunately get a pile up.
Yeah, huge pile up there. Brings out another caution here at 5 flags. But as we have this opportunity to watch another angle of this right here, this is riding on board with Chris Gutierrez there. He sees Dallas get sideways there, and then he just gets sandwiched there, gets clipped again. And just wrong place, wrong time, I suppose there, Kynan. He really had nowhere to go. Once Dallas started to get a little loose, Dallas had nowhere to go as well, and unfortunately with these open-wheeled race cars, it just takes that little amount of touch to get you sideways.
Yeah, when you're already on the edge of grip, just a little bit to send the car starting to slip sideways, there's not a lot you can do. I was already finding myself struggling to keep it being in a controlled slide, let alone getting a bit of contact, which then unfortunately sends you around fully, but ultimately having that extra fast repair that the VRA Racing Association does offer you, it does mean that if you get into those big wrecks, you can repair your car, but you only get that one get out of jail free card.
Yeah, as we're watching those drivers head down pit road to get those fast repairs out of the way, we're going to speak with a special guest up here in the booth, a guy who was essentially crowned the champion last week here tonight. We can make it official when this race is over. Caden Tufts, you're going to join us for just a quick bit here. Caden, last race of the season here in season 2. Looking back on this season, what's your thoughts so far?
Honestly, this season been a road of hills. I mean, it's been up and down all the time. I mean, we were able to pull off plenty of wins, but I mean, it had lots of ups and downs. We were lucky to pull this championship off here. I mean, we had lots of tough competition. We had Seth Rawls, we had Chris in here. There was Johnny Eckert. He didn't run the full season, but he's definitely one of the guys to beat. So, I mean, it's definitely one of the harder seasons this season.
And right before we let you go, what do you think it's going to take to get a victory here tonight?
Just keeping the tires cool and keeping them on the car and just keeping it in one piece.
Right on, Caden. Well, we'll speak to you soon, my man. Good luck here the rest of the way.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And that was our official season champion there, Caden Tufts there in that 0-0. Kind of, we can all but crown him the champion when this thing is over. He's got that crown already inside of his race car. There goes that 0-0. He's going to take this green flag down into corner number 1 here. We're back racing in the Adminboxx 115. We're on lap 49. Creeping up towards that halfway point right now as Caden Tufts again is just hitting that inside lane perfectly around 5 flags.
More importantly, in the second position, Nathaniel Cherry was able to get off to a good enough restart to be able to stay ahead of his teammate of Seth Rawls. That's allowed him to really effectively go from the back of the pack on where he initially started up into second position, but gets a little bit sideways and the teammates are going to make a bit of contact, but they're both able to go in a straight line, so maybe a little bit of time lost, but no time, but he's still going on track in a straight line, so no harm, no foul there, but Nathaniel seems to be pushing a little bit too hard and it is unsettling the car slightly, so trying to catch up to Caden, but Caden confidently running away with it.
Now these two drivers are teammates right here out of Shift Esports. Now, as you see, Chris Gutierrez trying to get to the inside. Oh, man. Oh, Seth Rawls right up there. He's racing aggressive here tonight. That 99 wants to finish his season strong off as well, as it looks like he's just pinching Seth Rawls up the track up there just a little bit. They are side by side crossing that start-finish line here on lap 54. Chris Gutierrez there to the inside, and that 99 machine wants to get around Seth Rawls. It looks like he's going to accomplish that, as Seth Rawls, though, is going to go back to the inside. He's going to try to get his position back here. They're going battle for battle, punch for punch right now, as it seems to settle out, as Seth Rawls is going to lose the position to Chris Gutierrez there, as now we got Caden Tufts, Nathaniel Cherry, and Chris Gutierrez. 1, 2, 3. It looks like Chris Gutierrez is going to try for another position right here, Kyle.
Not Seth, my bad. Chris driving in very deep, almost losing the front end, and looks to have barely made contact with Cherry. Cherry driving right up to the rear bumper, probably showing his displeasure to Chris, but Chris moving his way up into the second position after being in that big wreck. So he hasn't really left any of the shift guys alone, but speaking of shift guys, Seth is going to go to the inside of his teammate and is going to move up into the third position.
You know, they almost say, you know, as a UFC fighter, you know, you're very nervous, you got butterflies in your stomach, until you start to get punched in the face a few times, and all that goes out the window, and then your training kicks in. Looks like Chris Gutierrez just had to get punched a few times here in this race, and once that happened, he locked in. Now he's in that second position. He is running fast now here at 5 flags, trying that middle lane. Now, Colin, during your practice session before this race here tonight, you were finding speed in that middle lane. Could this be that speed that you were mentioning earlier?
So when you run that middle lane, you're going to be overheating the rear tire a little bit more, but you're just going to be able to put a little bit less wheel into it and instead driving it off the rear right opposed to the right front. So that's just going to be helping with tire wear, but it's also being a lot more conservative. You're not running near that evil apron line where you touch that and then you start slipping sideways, and if you touch it a bit too much, you can easily spin out. But Nathaniel Cherry getting up and into the outside wall ever so slightly, but able to keep it all going. We're not going to have a caution just yet, but looking a little bit further back in the 5th position between Peeler and Dallas. But as you're saying, or mentioning before, that middle lane, there is a little bit of pace, but if there's more pace than what Caden has, that we will only really be able to find out in about 60 laps time.
Ooh.
There was just multiple cars losing their rear end.
Yeah, but you were talking about that to start off this race here tonight. This is a tricky track. There's a lot of bumps. The tires are very slick here tonight. It looks like he still can't get that thing right now after spinning it. I believe that's Adam Peeler there in that 13 machine. He's just trying to get that thing straight now, kind of. And these are some of the things you mentioned to start off this broadcast. You got to figure out how to hit these corners just right and get out of the corners just right as well.
Yeah, just from what I have seen personally. Oh, we've got a bit of a pit strategy going on. I believe that is Johnny Eckert is going to, no, not Johnny. Dallas, my hand, is going to pull out and stay out on track and will take over the race lead. Caden is in, but it just seems from my little investigations that I decided to do, it seems like there was multiple cars just trying to diamond the corner as much as they can, entering middle to high and then cutting down. But they went down a bit too low, caught the apron, and then it started to over-rotate. Cherry was able to save it, but Peeler, it rotated a bit too much, and we ended up getting a caution.
Yeah, this is our third caution of the night here at Five Flags. Just slowly creeping up towards halfway, kind of. Of course, what we've seen so far is Caden Tufts leading the way, but what are some of the other things that stand out for you here so far?
So with Nathaniel Cherry deciding to, or it seems to have, something may have happened and had to start right at the back of the pack, and we saw him running up in the second position before falling back to the third and just moving around all over the place, but seems to have some form of pace. Then looking back to practice, Edward Marshall was on pace or similar with Caden, but something to think about right now. How is Dallas going to be able to fare and hold back the charging of Caden Tufts and anyone who has that extra advantage with the new tires? That's the thing I'm going to be really keeping an eye out on this restart, but Edwin Marshall is currently falling to the back of the pack.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Edward Marshall there, racing out of the Esports Racing Association. I want to take this time under yellow here to send my condolences and my well wishes to TJ Allen. For a lot of us, we know who TJ is. He's suffered an incredible loss in his family there just in these past couple of days. His grandmother, who is a big fan of iRacing, big fan of what we do here on these broadcasts, whether it's us here at 10-4 Broadcasting, 3 Wide TV, or anybody else that covers any kind of iRacing there. So we want to send our condolences, our well wishes to a guy that we've seen race here a few times here. I'm sure his grandmother's watched a few of our races here as well, Kynan, and Tim knows TJ as well. So we want to wish all of our well wishes, condolences, and man, I couldn't imagine what a loss that is for TJ there. As we're back undergreen here in the Virtual Racing Association.
Dallas getting off to a very strong start, but looking a little bit further back, also on the low line in the very similar Oscar painted car of Adam Peeler. After having that half spin, is going to be fighting for the third position, but being a car on old tires, he's got to somehow find a way to keep some pace, but Seth Rolls is going to move up into the lead of this race. Caden is a little bit further back than maybe he probably would have expected, currently running in the 6th position, which with everything going on in front, he has to be very alert not to get into some sort of accident.
Yeah, right now as the field's a little bit more bunched up right now as we head down into the corner. It's getting very testy now on the racetrack right now, kind of. We saw it was a little bit of a more coy start to this race. Now Caden Tufts is stuck in that position that we saw him last week. He's not having to really battle it out on the track. And he got in trouble here in this spot last week. And this is what resulted in his first non-top 5, his first non-podium of the entire season. As now he is side by side with Johnny Eckert.
Johnny running on that low line, but Caden leaving not a lot of space for him. Caden's going to then decide to go down to the inside in turn 3 and 4. Almost, or does end up running over the apron, but the car has plenty of grip, surprisingly, and is going to move his way up into the 3rd position, but he still has 2 more shift cars that he has to dispatch.
Yeah, and that's not going to be an easy job in and out itself right now. Those Shift Esports drivers we mentioned earlier are very skilled. They put a lot of practice, a lot of track time in those race cars. But right now, the battle is heating up for the top 3. It's like Caden Tufts is trying to make his way back up to the top of the grid, trying to make a move on Nathaniel Cherry here. This number 33 machine has had a great season as well. Of course, a lot of these drivers are overshadowed from the success of the 00 of Caden Tufts, but they have had great seasons themselves. Right there is that 33 is trying to hold on. Oh man, hard impact from Nathaniel Cherry as Caden Tufts is working that back bumper all night long like Lionel Richie right there, and it may have resulted in just a little bit of an impact. We're going to watch this replay here. We'll see coming down into the corner. Is there contact? Ooh, there is a bit of contact there.
I'd say that Cherry was just trying to hug the inside as best he can, and Cherry just got a little bit loose, clipping the apron, and it's just been enough to unsettle the car. And with Ken being right there, not a lot of space that he could have really been able to react. So, yeah, you can see Cherry just running a little bit too low. It starts to then get very unsettled, trying to run down there, and Caden doesn't seem to have gotten that much damage, luckily.
No, not too much damage there. More concerned about Nathaniel Cherry there in that 33, who took a hard impact to that topside wall.
Unfortunately, the hit instantly destroyed the engine and he had to get a tow. So, unless there is a lot of cautions coming up, I'd say Cherry's night will unfortunately be over. So, with that, it's probably going to be the end to his season as well. Real lot of potential, but unfortunately, not quite able to break through into victory lane.
Yeah, like you mentioned, kind of not the way that you want to end your season. A successful season there for that 33 Nathaniel Cherry. With everything that's going to settle here tonight, he was coming into this final race second in the point standing. So an incredible season for that 33 machine. It's a shame we won't see him finish it off here at 5 Flags, but can't wait to see if he comes back for Season 3. We would love to see that 33 machine back in the field for Season 3. We'd like to see all these Shift Esports drivers back next year here in the Virtual Racing Association. And as we're under caution here, our 4th caution of the night, we do want to shout out the admins here in the Virtual Racing Association who make all of this possible. We want to shout out Tim Conrad and Jordan Tarble. Without those guys here, we wouldn't be here bringing you these broadcasts. The racing wouldn't be here. The league wouldn't be here without the hard work of those 2 guys. They're the masterminds behind the Weekend Woodsman commercial that you see as well. So we invite you to go check out the Weekend Woodsman on YouTube. You find all your hunting content. It's turkey time for a lot of us folks here in the United States. It's that time to go out, get cold out there. It's snowing in some places already, kind of here in the United States. So it's time to go hunting. It's time to go outside. It's time to adventure a little bit. And for all those survival tricks, hunting tips, and everything that you might need for a good, successful hunt this year, while it's still hunting season for a lot of folks, we invite you to go check out the Weekend Woodsman on YouTube. There's a lot of content, a lot of channels on there, so we invite you to go do that here. And again, thank you to Tim Conrad and Jordan Tabarro for another successful season here in the Virtual Racing Association.
And you're talking about snow just a second ago, but over here in Australia, it's just only heating up. But speaking of heating up, we're back under green flag racing. Seth not being able to get off to such a good restart, and that's meant that Ken is going to be close enough to start looking at fighting on the outside, but Johnny Eckert in the 3rd position just behind these 2 is going to be looking at capitalizing. So the race started off calm, but right now I'd say things are just starting to heat up like it's Australia.
Yeah, it's getting hot on the track. We might see a kangaroo bounce around right now, or a crocodile show up on the track, as now Caden Tufts has overtaken Seth Ross there, but they're very, very close, touching tires there for just a minute. They're side by side, racing it down to corner number 1.
There seems to be a little bit of netcode between them, which has unsettled both cars, but it's allowed Johnny Eckert to be able to start looking to the inside of Seth Rolls. These 2 drivers just earlier in this race did get together, and they get together again, and Seth is going to go over.
As Seth Ross unfortunately clips that top side wall, goes upside down. Man, Kynan, I know this is not a good time for this reference, but you turn me right round, baby, right round, as Seth Ross just got turned right side up and flipped all around there. I'll give him a 9.5 out of 10 there, Kynan, for the acrobats we saw to Seth Ross in that 25 machine. Unfortunately, though, we're starting to see the field get a little damaged here, if you will. We just saw, Nathaniel Cherry get beat up a little bit. Now we're seeing Seth Ross. These are 2 Shift Esports cars now with heavy damage on the racetrack.
Yeah, the only driver to not really pick up significant damage, which we can just see now on replay. Seth just starts hooking into the wall, and once you hook in, you just start to flip wildly out of control. You can see him racing very close with Johnny Eckert, slight contact, which then sends Seth ever so slightly up the track, and then you start riding that wall, and then the tires start digging in, and then I experienced it in practice, and just flips over. Doesn't seem like there's too much damage, but having been in an accident earlier on, hopefully Seth still has a fast repair, but right now, right or left tires are going up and off the car, but looking at the front roll bar, there is still a lot of damage left on the car, so I'd say Seth's night is unfortunately over.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. Again, it seems like deja vu up here. Groundhog's Day. Shout out to Bill Murray there, because we were just speaking about an unfortunate end to Nathaniel Cherry's season there in that 33. Unfortunately, it's going to be the same thing for Seth Ross as well. Looks like two very successful drivers here in the Retro Racing Association Season 2. Their nights are going to end early here in the season finale, and that's not the way that you want your season to end. Very disappointing for a very strong season there, Kynan.
Yeah, it's a season that Seth we thought may be able to take it to Caden, but just a bunch of real life things coming in the way, and unfortunately, not unfortunately for Caden, but unfortunately for Seth and really the entire Shift Esports operation, they've had the pace, they've been able to pick up wins and pick up consistent podiums, but not quite enough to be able to take it to Caden. But being their inaugural season in VRA, I'd say it's something that they can look back on and see what they can learn, and hopefully come into next season with a new head and be able to benefit better.
Yeah, and these laps have flown by here tonight at Five Flags. Folks, we only have 25 laps left here this season. So as I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, we invite you to go check out the Virtual Racing Association on Facebook, on Twitter. Go check out our broadcasts on YouTube. Go check us out on 10-4 Broadcasting. Go watch back all the races this year. You're going to see why you want to join up this league for Season 3, as the pace car has pulled off, and Cade Tufts is going to take us to that start-finish line with a huge restart down into corner number 1.
Alice Myhan starting directly behind Caden is going to be able to benefit the most, looking to the inside, and is going to be still side by side with Chris Gutierrez going into turn 3. Dallas has to be careful. That's exactly why he has to be careful down there. Ooh.
Hard impact once again. Oof, and that is a blown engine. Someone call the fire department, because he is on fire, but not in a good way, as he's going to take a hard impact to the wall right there. As we look at Dallas Myhan and Chris Gutierrez, going to go side by side down into the corner right now. Looks like Dallas is going to clip that apron just a little bit. That's going to get that tail to wiggle. He's getting sideways, and looks like right there. No, Chris Gutierrez is going to survive that. But it looks like right there. I'm trying to see who that other car was there, kind of.
It was the 13 of Adam Peeler, the second race Oscar design, but there was some very strange netcode that went on where Peeler phased through Dallas. But right as I was talking about, Dallas has to be careful whilst hugging down on that inside lane. You can see him just barely clip it and just takes both Oscar cars up, and very, very strange netcode. I've not seen that before.
Ouch, that's going to be very, very difficult there. As it looks like Dallas Myhan is also going to have to retire here with less than 24 laps to go. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for our second break of the evening. We'll be right back for the conclusion of the Weekend Woodsman 115 here live on 10-4 Broadcasting.
Be sure to check out Tim Mayo Conrad and the Weekend Woodsman crew on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button to get notifications when a new video drops, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Enjoy the race.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're back here live for the Adminboxx 115. Their Adminboxx is our title sponsor of the evening here. Adminboxx is a wonderful sponsor here. Has been with us all season long. I think both season here, Kynan and Tim, they've been around for a while now. Adminboxx builds fully customized admin and race control devices that all you have to do, they are USB plug and play. You plug that baby into your computer, you put it in driving or pit mode. No more having to sit down pit road and be race control and admin of a race. You can actually race around if you want to with an Adminboxx. You have all your controls. It's US or LED lit as well. So if you race in a dark room or you do your race control or admin in a dark room, it's going to be lit up for you so you can see all your yellow flags, your black flags, your add a lap, decrease laps, whatever you might have to do during a race. We invite you to go check them out at Adminboxx. That's 2X's on Facebook or at their website at adminboxx with 2X's.com. Once again, here, Connor, we're going to kick things off here with 20 laps to go as Caden Tuff's going to take us to the green flag.
That was quite a strange little restart. A lot of cars seemingly out of position, but a little bit further back, we've only got 4 cars left on the lead lap. Chris running in the 3rd position. Johnny Eckert, who's had a bit of an eventful night with certain shift cars and the outside wall, but currently running up in the 2nd position and is going to be trying to take it to Caden. Caden trying to get every little limit of speed he can out of the car, but with Johnny and Chris both seemingly having the pace right now, is Caden going to be able to hold him off? 17 laps left to go in the season finale race here at Five Flags Raceway, home of the Snowball Derby in real life, but right now it's only being home to the finale for the Season 2 of VRA Virtual Racing Association, but Chris Gutierrez looking to the inside of Johnny Eckert running up, right up high, not having really any grip up there, and Chris is going to be able to start pulling alongside. He's going to have the advantage going into turn number 1. He's going to be able to clear him, but he doesn't decide to drift up yet, wanting to give Eckert space, and is going to be able to clear him going into turn 3.
Yeah, with 15 laps to go, Caden Tuss is our leader here in that 0-0, starting to separate just a little bit as these laps are ticking down here in this season finale. He wants to cap off an incredible season with an incredible win here at Five Flags. He's already our champion. He wants to wear that crown in victory lane here in the season finale. It's a little funny when somebody else wins that season finale and you're the champion. You guys have to celebrate together. He wants no such thing here tonight. He wants to celebrate the Season 2 championship and a race victory here at Five Flags as Chris Gutierrez in that 99 machine still solid there in that 2nd place. Johnny Eckert though wants to increase his finishing position there in 3rd position. We have Edward Marshall there in 4th, and Nathaniel Cherry is a lap down in the 5th position. But with 12 laps to go, Caden Tuffs in that 0-0 doesn't seem to be slowing down at all as we're across this line with 11 laps to go.
That last time for Caden Tuss was a 15.781, whilst the last time for Chris was a 15.787, so Caden was a little bit quicker, but there's not a lot left in it, so unless we get a caution, there's not too much Chris can do. His last time was a 15.825, whilst Caden was a 8.53, so this time Chris was a little bit quicker, but it's not a lot, so the pace is more very flat line, and with there being less than 10 laps, Chris is quickly running out of time.
Yeah, he is running out of time indeed. He's trying to keep pace with Caden Tuffs there in that 0-0. Looks like he might run out of laps here with 9 laps to go. We're going to cross this line now with 8 laps to go as Caden Tuff's going to take us down to corner number 1 all by himself. Once again here, we saw him drift back just a little bit on the grid, down to about the 3rd or 4th position. Had to work himself through the traffic just a little bit. Wasted no time out there, almost like a shark. Shout out to Shark Photography, one of our sponsors here as well, providing all those excellent shots of these modifieds on this race course all season long here in the Virtual Racing Association, as now Caden Tuffs is going to make himself look good here on the racetrack, make sure he gets a good shot for Shark Photography here in the season finale. That 0-0 with 6 laps to go looks like he is cruising to a Season 2 championship.
The last lap for Chris was 0.03 slower than Caden. Caden has now stepped up his game and is quickly pulling away and just keeping that gap. Unless we get a caution, Caden is going to quickly run out, or Caden is not going to need to worry for too much longer by Chris. Even though it hasn't been quite the season without wins, but having gone from basically no experience with these tool modifieds to now being able to step up and take it, or start taking it to Caden, being really one of the only drivers to be able to be more competitive and create a threat and maybe a potential challenge for him. But even with that, for Chris, it can just be a big positive for the whole season. If you can go from hardly any experience with it and then suddenly going and running for consistent podiums, that's a real achievement that you can have to look back on. But
Yeah.
right now in the third position, Johnny Eckert doesn't seem to be able to close up to the back of Chris, so Chris just needs to limit the amount of mistakes, but one time to
And here on the final lap here of the season number 2, Caden Tufts is going to take us down the backstretch here, down to the last set of corners right now. That 00 looks like he's going to win the Adminboxx 115 and be our Season 2 champion here in the Virtual Racing Association. And Kynan, that was an excellent run there on that final lap. And man, what a run it was for Caden Tufts here tonight and the entire season.
Yeah, Caden had really gone flawless for the entire season. There's been a couple of mistakes that he's made under pressure from the quickly approaching challenge, but Caden has been able to pull off the 6th win of this season, basically going 50% on wins for the entire season, and that he is going to be able to wrap it up and doing a whole lot of celebration. But you don't need the car anymore. You can just burn it down and just start preparing for next season.
Yeah, as we watch him celebrate not only the race victory, but the championship victory as well. And Kynan, you made a run on him last year, finishing about a point shy. What makes this 00 so good week in and week out? And were you surprised, though, coming into this race that, last year you had about a point was your final difference here. Nathaniel Cherry and the rest of the field weren't even close to him heading into the championship race.
Well, you say there was 1 point separating it at the end of last season, but Caden had also not raced for the first 3 races, so there's a little bit of an asterisk next to that point at the end. But I am a little bit surprised that Caden was able to wrap up the championship a week in advance, but with real life things coming into effect, there's not a whole lot you can do, and unfortunately that's one of the dramas you have to face. But Caden having that real life experience with short tracks and just being at a bit of a younger age compared to some of the other drivers, he's got a lot to still learn, and with the pace that he does have, there's certainly a long potential career in iRacing that can surely pick up a lot of other championships in other divisions if he wanted to.
Yeah, as we await our podium finishers to get ready for an interview, looks like I'm going to tackle our 3rd place finisher. I'll leave our season champion for you there, Kynan, down in victory lane, so I'll let you get down there. But I'm going to take on our 3rd place interview here, Johnny Eckert. Johnny, Bayern Munich has that World Cup break right now, but you are racing like crazy. We saw you race like crazy here tonight in that 90 machine. Going to come home with a podium finish to wrap up, I would say, a pretty successful season. You're going to win this season here, made yourself known here in these modifieds. What are your thoughts about this season so far, and what about that race here tonight at Five Flags?
Yeah, this is a bit of a challenge. I couldn't totally get a handle on why the car was so tight for me. I don't know if I was driving it wrong or what, but yeah, it was a challenge tonight in particular. I apologize to Seth on the first incident. I definitely dove it in there and shouldn't have probably pushed it so hard in that moment, but felt like my only chance to give him a race for it at that moment. But yeah, the season was pretty good overall for me. Got a couple wins. Talked to you guys a few times, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, tonight was a challenge compared to the other ones.
Yeah, we could see it was a bit of a task to handle here tonight at Five Flags. It was a tricky course with the bumps on the racetrack. It was hard to pass. You had a lot of guys getting loose. you're able to scrape out a podium finish here tonight. But looking at our season champion at Caden Tufts, if you come back for season 3, do you think you may have figured out that puzzle piece that is Caden Tufts? Do you think that maybe next year you can really press the issue a little bit more?
No. I'll be straight up. No. No, he's on another level. I've only raced with him a couple times in the modifieds, and tonight I think the biggest challenge that we saw was that in order to race, it seemed like everybody had a pinch and just force the issue really really hard. Um, and then you step over that line just a little bit and all hell breaks loose. And Caden was probably the only car on track that, to me, from my seat, that didn't have any of those issues. He just had outright pace, and it clicks with him. So I don't know if it's the car, if it's he's better on the shorter tracks. I feel like I'm all right here at Five Flags in most cars, but this thing is a complete different beast. So for me, I don't really think I'd be able to hold on to fight with him, but with Caden. But I'm sure that there are plenty other modified drivers out there that would love to give him a shot. So might not be me, but dude's good, and I will not slander that at all.
No, well, you're pretty good yourself there, Johnny, in that number 90 machine. And I guess my next question to you: will we see you in season 3 here in the Virtual Racing Association?
Yeah, sure. I'll pop in for for a part-time schedule again.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. Pick your poison. I'm not the I'm not the biggest fan of some of the short tracks and in a car that is so sensitive to contact and stuff. Um, it was a little bit heated tonight, and I'm not typically a driver that gets caught up in these things, but I don't know. I'll probably end up doing part-time appearances at some of the bigger tracks, kind of like what I did this season.
Gotcha. Now, as we wrap up season 2 here, as you mentioned there, you had a successful season. We're speaking with Johnny Eckert there, and the number 90 machine's going to come home third here tonight. Johnny, it's now your time to get to reflect, to thank all those people that made this season possible, made these races possible for you, those sponsors, those people that you had watching here, and this season's over here in the Virtual Racing Association, but where can people follow you on social media for the rest of your season?
Well, first off, thank you guys for broadcasting it. Thanks to the VRA admins, Jordan Tarble for getting me in here. Thanks to Vic for doing race control. Thanks to everybody who came out throughout the season, because the races I was able to make were fantastic, and different challenge each week. So I had a great time. I want to thank Jake Bustos and DJ Weeks for all their help on race night. Even while DJ was racing every once in a while in his own races. But I want to thank them, and yeah, I look forward to the future and see what comes of it.
Well, Johnny, you had an excellent season here. You're going to finish the season with a third place finish, another podium to put on that stat sheet there here in the Virtual Racing Association. We want to we want to thank you for a successful season there in that number 90 machine, for providing us a lot of entertainment up here in the booth. We want to appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. And I'll see you tomorrow, but I'm sure we'll see you maybe part-time in these modifieds next season here in the Virtual Racing Association.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. That was Johnny Eckert, our third place finisher in Kynan. We've seen that 90 all season long really fight his way through the grid, scrape out good finishes. He has a couple wins this season and just adds another podium finish to his resume.
Yeah, that's something I tend to expect from Johnny. He can go from having a bad night and turning it around and being able to salvage something from it. And when you're able to finish off with a podium on a season on a really new car that don't have too much experience with, he's very quick, but it's still a new car, and with being a part-timer, it's a lot harder to get a grasp for a car when you don't have as much experience compared to the full-timers.
Yeah, well, I'll catch up with our second place finisher, Chris Gutierrez, as you now work your way into victory lane. I see a few Bud Lights, a few Natty Lights being cracked down there in victory lane, so we'll let you get down there to get that interview with Kane Tuffs, our season champion and our race winner here tonight. But now it's time to speak with our second place finisher. I would say one of the hardest working men on the track here at Five Flags. You get in trouble on the first lap, you work your way back, get in some more trouble, you get sideways in that 99. You work your way back up the grid somehow, some way. You come out with a second place finisher here tonight, Chris Gutierrez. Take us through that race here tonight, and what's your reflection here on this season 2 of the Virtual Racing Association?
Well, my initial take is apron bad. Found that, that's one of my better saves in this car. So the fact that I didn't destroy it on lap 1 was that was encouraging. And then I was fast. I mean, I ran down. I was running down before the first caution. I was running down Adam and I think whoever he was racing. So it felt like we were fast. And then we got the caution we needed and got back up with the leaders. And somebody, I don't remember who it was exactly, they caught the apron and I checked up to let them catch it. And then they kind of just parked it in front of me. So I'm like, well, I don't want to lose all my spots. So I tried to cut under and somebody was below me at that point. Just, I get it. I mean, it's short track racing and, you know, people see somebody parked and they try to take advantage, but there's kind of, I feel like a little bit, sometimes everybody just being calm and living to race another corner would make the races better. But, you know, luckily we had the fast repair and we got it back. And then it was just a dogfight to the end. Tried to get on a different strategy to see if I had anything for Caden, and kudos to him. He's like I've said it before, he's basically the Kyle Busch of this league. I couldn't catch him, but I know a lot of these races this year where I podiumed, they did not come easy. I don't think one race this year, one of my finishes came easy. It was just driving my butt off, and I'm very proud with how this season has turned out.
Yeah, you know, we've seen you in the mix. A lot of these races here tonight, you're going to finish second there in that 99. And I guess my question to you, actually, me and Kynan had a question or a conversation about during that broadcast, is how are you able to keep your composure, keep your cool throughout all the adversity, throughout all the things that happened to you here tonight at Five Flags, to keep your cool, keep that confidence going, to know that you still had a good car. As you just mentioned, you had the speed here tonight, but you just ran into obstacles, you ran into problems, you got sideways a few times. How are you able to just keep it together and get that second place finish?
Yeah, I mean, I can get a little heated when my car's not driving. How I kind of can attest. He was in a practice session with me today. Just kind of say what's on my mind if the car's not driving. Turn into kind of a PG version of Kyle Busch.
Right.
But when I make a mistake on my own, a lot of times I can usually stay calm because it's just like, okay, I screwed up, I'll get it back. When I get involved in other people's stuff, that's where I get a little more frustrated. But I was hot, and I think I use it in a way where I was kind of focused, just use it to focus and just try to not let it make me do something stupid. Because there was a few times coming off the corner where the car would push and I would crack it, and I was literally telling myself, don't stuff it in the fence. Because I knew I was driving on the limit trying to catch Caden. But at the same time, I'm like, if we can't win it, let's finish second and, you know, secure second in points. So learning experience for sure. Temper control is something that I definitely need to learn a little more. I can fully admit that. I think if I think it'll only make me a better driver. Like racing's a lot of a mental game, and there's a fine line between using a little bit of anger to motivate you and make you faster, and it makes you do something stupid. Sometimes I have that balance and sometimes I don't, and tonight we did. So yeah, I'm really proud of the run.
Yeah, we're proud of you here at 10-4 Broadcasting, keeping your cool, keeping your composure. Scrape out a second place finish here tonight. As you just mentioned, it might be enough to finish second on that points table as well, which would cap off a pretty successful season for that 99. I guess my next question to you, Chris, is are we going to see that 99 next season here in the Virtual Racing Association?
Yeah, I think we'll probably be back next season. Probably be a different number. I've submitted a different number just to see if maybe a change in number might bring some better luck. I have enjoyed driving the 99 for sure, though. But, you know, for never having really driven this car competitively, test sessions and stuff, but for never having driven it competitively, in the beginning of the season starting the way it did, I feel like I learned a bunch and, you know, ended up making a good season. And we had some help, to be honest. A couple of people didn't run the full season and they missed races. But my golden night was I wanted to come out and have a run that proves that even though I got a little bit of help, I'm deserving to be second in points. And I think we did that. So it's a season I can definitely be satisfied with. Didn't quite get the win. That's disappointing, but we were close a few times. So I mean, for a first time out, I'll take it.
Yeah, it kind of throws me back to the Carl Edwards days there in that 99 machine, the backflip days. We don't see any more of that anymore. But Chris Gutierrez, you're going to finish second here tonight. You're going to cap off season 2 with a great run, a great finish. And with that, Chris, we're going to give you that time to reflect on and mention all those people that may have watched you all season long, any sponsors that may have made this racing possible, and if you have social media where people can follow you here the rest of this iRacing season for you.
I don't really have any social media. I'm thinking about maybe changing that down the road, but I'll definitely thank Adam Peeler for bringing me in. You can find him at Nurse Aviator Gaming on Twitch. And as always, my buddy Alex Kenton, he didn't make the race tonight for some reason. I don't know. I think he might have had a personal situation or something, so that's unfortunate. But he definitely had a really good season too. He learned a lot, and he was involved in a lot of things not of his own doing. But I think he came a long way too this season. You can find him at Mr. Bushy on Twitch. And then thank everybody for I think it's Tim and Jordan. I'm not 100% sure if I'm wrong, and then I apologize. But thank the guys who put on VRA and Vic for helping officiate. You guys for broadcasting, and everybody who's been watching. I hope we put on a good season for you. Yeah, it was a good season for sure. Definitely proud of myself.
Yeah, Chris, like I said, we're very proud of your run here as well in the Virtual Racing Association. You finished second here tonight. As you mentioned, it might be mathematically possible for you to finish second in that points table as well. But congratulations on a successful season this year. Can't wait to see that. Not the 99, but you driving yourself here in these modifieds next season. It's going to be a mystery what number you're going to run next year here in this series. But Chris, we want to appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. And again, congratulations on a great season, and we'll see you next year here in the Virtual Racing Association.
Yeah, man. Thanks for broadcasting. Kynan, thanks for broadcasting. You guys have a great off season, and happy holidays.
Yes, sir. You as well.
Take care. Bye.
Kynan, that was Chris Gutierrez in that 99. As I mentioned, he worked himself through that grid, through all the adversity, through all the challenges. But I don't think you can hear me very well down there in Victory Lane. It's a party going down there, the Canadian party, if you will, as now you're catching up with our Season 2 champion and our race winner here at Five Flags, Caden Tufts. Take it away, Kynan.
So, Caden, this time I'm talking to you from a different perspective to say that you are the Season 2 VRA champion. How does it feel to go back to back?
I don't know. I'm lost in words. I mean, I was kind of coming in with, this season without knowing I was going to win the championship. I mean, we had Seth Rawls showing, we had a whole bunch of people practicing over the off season and getting lots of practice in just for one track in general, if not all of them. So, I mean, I didn't think I was going to win this season, but we were able to do it and have an awesome season and come out with the championship.
Was there really any point that you thought, well, maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up just yet? And who would you say is your biggest rival from this season?
Rival. I don't really have any rivals. I mean, I love running with all these guys. I mean, yeah, there might be incidents here and there, but I mean, the one guy I was worried about this season was either Chris or Johnny Ecker. Even though he didn't run the full season, he was definitely one of the guys to beat. Like I said, the race there or the interview under caution. He's definitely one of the guys I was looking out for this season. Because I mean, he could be only a part-timer, but I mean, he could just come out for one race and next you know, there goes my championship hopes because some other guy might have finished better than me or something, and that little point could always make that difference, like you learned, Conan, on that lead lap situation last year. So,
Yeah, had to rub it in, didn't you, mate? But going back to tonight, we saw a lot of people getting very loose, especially as soon as they got on the apron. Was that something you're constantly thinking about and changing your line just to be safe?
throughout the whole race, I was running different lines. I mean, the first round I was running more of the middle line, see if it saved any tire. But I wasn't really able to tell that because we ended up going on like a 35 lap run. So we ended up hitting on that first caution there and then getting fuel. And then we went for another 20-ish laps around there. I pitted again for, I think, a gallon of fuel because I wasn't too sure if I was safe or not. So I just wanted to make sure. And I took rights again. And I lost, I think, 2 positions or something out of pit road. So, yeah, I mean, I was just running different lines throughout the whole race. there was one point I was running the derby line where they run like the middle through 3 and 4, and then right basically on the exit they're right against that wall. So I mean, there's plenty of lines you can run at this track. Just you got to figure out what one works best with your driving style.
Well, with you saying that there's multiple lines that you can run, how easy is it to pass here at Five Flags in the modifieds?
Um, Honestly, you just have to get a better run out of the corner. That's all I had or tonight. I mean, in the super when I ran here and the other leagues that I run, there was the top groove. It sometimes comes in, and then yeah, you're flying on the outside. So, I mean, it all depends on how the track's handling and just how your corner speed is.
Well, with that, and with the season now being over, can we likely see return in the 00 for next season to try go 3 in a row?
Yeah, I'll be back in the 00 next season for sure in this league. Maybe a different design or something, switching it up a little bit, and hopefully we can pull off a third championship. But God knows if we'll be able to do that.
Well, with that, we'll let you go celebrate with your team and just be able to celebrate going back to back. But before we do, who do you have to thank for helping you win your second championship in a row here in the Virtual Racing Association?
First off, I'd like to thank you guys for putting this broadcast on every weekend, week out. I'd like to thank Vic for doing all the race control, putting up with us. Tim, he done a lot for this series, so there's so many guys on this series that put work into it and keeping it going. Then all my team, Premier Racing Setups, use code TUFS15 in the checkout for 15% off for all your racing setups on the oval side, dirt oval side. Even I think we got dirt road over there and road. So I mean, there's plenty of stuff to check out over there. Then Bradwar Marges, Timberley Beverage Room, LBT Pallets, Gasbro Transfer, A-Rod HVAC. I mean, you guys are on the car. Esports Racing Association. They're another group I ran with there a bit ago. And I mean, they're still going to be on the car for God knows how long, however long they run. So yeah.
Well, with that, congratulations on winning the championship. It was a hard fought battle, but Caden Tufts, you are the Season 2 Virtual Racing Association champion. Go celebrate with your team, and we'll hopefully or most likely see you next season.